Welcome to another episode of Championing Creativity. In this episode, I sit down with Anna Watson, founder of a popular women's wear brand called Anna James. In this episode, we discuss Anna's 10-year experience as a business owner, the importance of mentorship, and how you could get your fashion brand featured on mainstream TV. So without further ado, here's the episode. Welcome to the podcast, Anna Watson.
Hi, Kevin. Thank you so much for having me.
For those that might not know you, are you able to just give a very quick introduction to Anna Watson?
Yep. So I unconventionally came into tailoring from. I've always had a design background. I've loved designing. Very creative when I was a child, and I always knew I wanted to have my own business, but I never knew in what. And I did a design course at uni, something very different. I then went on to land my first job in London, which was in Sloane Square with tailoring. And I just fell in love. I loved textiles. I've got a strong textile background with my family. They had a worldwide textile company called Courtaulds. And I think it just runs through my blood. And combining the textiles and my love of designing has just landed me my dream job, my dream career of having my own business.
And what made you, was it Anna James, was that named after you? Because I don't know your name's Anna Watson. No.
Yeah, just to confuse things. No, it's actually obviously my first name, and then my husband's actually James, although we know him as Jim, and so I stole his first name as the second name. So it just rolls a little better than Anna Watson. Just easier to roll off the tongue.
Brilliant. And is your husband part of the business as well? Or?
No, not at all. He completely separate, does his own thing. He helps me out, very supportive, is my rock with everything going on behind the scenes. But no, he's got his own career and does that on completely differently.
And how long have you been running Anna James?
So I actually launched my own business, my own brand 10 years ago. So I had a men's and women's tailoring brand that I launched in 2015. And it was brilliant. It sort of broke even within 18 months. I absolutely loved it, very successful. I did a lot of shows around the country. But I found that with Brexit, COVID, I've got two very young children, and I did a lot of shows. My main income was through the shows, and I was away for 20 weeks at a time, and it just didn't work with COVID and with my little people. So I 2 years ago decided to rebrand and relaunch, which was effectively starting again for my sins. And that's when I launched Anna James in April 2023.
And you mentioned you always had the passion for tailoring. Did that come from your family?
The textiles always had a passion for and I've absolutely love. And then the tailoring, I had my first job in London back in 2010. And that's when so I've been sort of in the tailoring industry for about 15 years now. And there I just learned on the job. So I didn't have any background to fashion or tailoring at all. And I managed a company in Sloane Square for a couple of years. And then I managed another company out in West London. And that's where I learned about clothing, all the practical sort of side of it. Or the technical side as well. And I just knew that with the textiles, I sort of thought, do I want to go into interior design? Do I want to do anything like that? So I knew the textiles was always there. It just didn't click till I got the tailoring job in Sloane Square, and then it all just fell into place. And I moved up to Margate Harbour in Leicestershire after I did sort of 5-6 years in London, and that's when I knew to launch my own brand. And I knew I had to go for it.
And you mentioned you always wanted to be a business owner. Where do you think that came from?
My parents are farmers. I grew up on a farm, very different, but I had the most incredible childhood. And they just graft the whole time. It's 24/7. It's a lifestyle, not a job, which you always hear people say about farming, but it's very, very true. And I think that just that hard work and having my own business was sort of installed in me from a very young age. There's no sort of divide between, for them, there's no divide between leisure and working. It all just sort of molds into one. And I find that that's just always sort of been a part of my life. Like, it's not a 9 to 5. It's very much you work evenings, work weekends. And I find that with my business now, but I love it. I love hard work. And it's when you get the rewards back from the hard work, that's when it makes it all worthwhile. So I just think the freedom that business gives you, the rewards that having your own business gives you, it just works really well for what I would like and what my lifestyle would like to be.
And I've read in another interview you did that Sloane Square's fashion scene was a big influence on your business. For people outside of that, the fashion world, you had to explain what that is.
Yeah, I think more than anything, I think London as a whole and then Sloane Square is very much um, people finding their own style. I think the more confidence you have, the more you feel empowered and the more you're willing to experiment and just find. I think quite often people, especially when they're younger, they'll follow trends and their influence. And I find that as you get older and older and older, you're going to find your own style, find what you like, what suits you color wise as well. That's quite something that people don't really realize at the beginning. And I think that has a huge influence. And I think Sloane Square, there's a lot of, is trends led there because it's sort of, people are very stylish and everything. But yeah, just as you get older, the style becomes your own, and you enjoy it. It becomes more of a hobby, and you enjoy it. And there's less pressure as you get older as well. And I think that's something I find in London. Going when I'm visiting London, I just love how people have such a different style, and just find their own way with it as well.
Hmm. And is your customer base quite London centric as well, or is it completely national?
No, all over, to be honest. I sell from the UK, Australia, America's another big one that I sell, have a lot of customers from, and then Europe as well. So the French and Germans love like the sort of the timeless British style, and the blazers, the suits. So yeah, predominantly the UK. I've sort of started out the UK. A lot of my sort of advertising, my social media is sort of based around the UK, but I think you then get those from outside the UK who just love our style and our background, like the textile background, our sort of not trends but style background. Yeah, that all just comes in and they love it. They want to sort of jump onto that as well. So yeah, all over.
Yeah, I know. So with the US, I've spoke to a few of my clients are starting to see issues with tariffs coming
Yeah.
in. Is that something you're facing as well?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it is. And I have found that customers, especially the US and even with Brexit, with the tariffs that they're having to pay over there, it's definitely had an effect on my business. It's slowed up my sales. And then as a small business, it's really hard to swallow the tariffs that they're having and the customs. So that's something that I'm working on the whole time. And yeah, it's not fun.
Yeah, I can imagine. And
Yeah.
is that, do you have to then pick prices up for the US? Is that kind of how
Yeah.
it's?
Yeah, no, I'm not. At the moment, the customers having to pay the tariffs, but I'm trying to look at different systems so that we can cover the tariffs that they don't have to pay them. But yeah, whether it's putting up the prices for our customers, which I don't want to do, or just trying to find a better courier system. So I use Royal Mail a lot, but there are couriers out there who are a lot more effective and they are a lot more on the ball with the new tariffs and everything that's coming in. So and the customs. So yeah, so it's a work in progress at the moment.
Mhm, sure. It's a shame because you do see a lot of businesses now just pulling out of the US market completely because it's
Yeah.
just not worth the trouble.
Yeah, and I did pull out with after Brexit. I did pull out with Europe with the a lot, but actually, there's so many people who do still want it, and they don't mind paying the tariffs. So I've actually put it back on, and I was part of a platform who people could buy through them, and I could ship it out through them, and that really helped. So there are ways around it. It's just what works best, especially as a small brand. Like our cash flow and our budgets are so limited. We don't have a big brand behind us to help us. So that definitely makes a difference.
And was the platform, is that like a European retailer?
Yeah, well, it was an international retailer, and
Okay,
they
yeah.
stocked lots of different brands from all over the world. And that was really helpful. But now I've just gone back to doing it in house again. But it just kick-started it, and it definitely helped me get going with sending back out to Europe.
So your previous business was a pretty quick success. Was that the same with Anna James?
Yeah, I think with Anna James has definitely taken longer. I think the economy now from 10 years ago is different. We the 10 years ago, I mean, I was saying I did a lot of shows, and that was a very big part of my income for that business for 8 years, and that made a huge difference. And I think now It's just it's a little bit slower, but I think it's a lot more. So before I would sell a lot more in person, whereas now I'm a lot more e-commerce, which is why I rebranded and relaunched. I wanted to go more down the e-commerce route. So it's made a lot more sense. I put a lot more into online ads, social media ads, all that side of it. So I would say, I mean, Anna James is only 2 years old, so the success that I've seen is definitely there. I would just say that it was slightly slower because I'm doing a lot less selling in person. Although this winter I've upped my pop-ups and I've got 4 alone this month, and that's
Wow.
going to make a huge difference. I promised my husband I would like slow up on the events and pop-up side of it, and I've gone full swing back into it again. But yeah, so I think that's going to help a lot getting back out there, because the quality of my blazers, my suits, they just sell themselves alone. So people seeing them in person, trying them on straight away, it makes such difference. So I am going back towards that route, and I think that's going to kick Anna James into the next level up, make all the difference.
Yeah, I think just pop-ups are great because it's sometimes hard from an e-commerce perspective to kind of showcase the quality and the feel of it. But then with pop-ups, it's so much easier because you see it, you could try it on.
I love it. And it's just meeting people in person. And it's so good
Mhm.
for getting to know my customer database a lot more as well, because you do all this research, you have a list of what their fears and their interests are and everything, their weaknesses and everything like that, which, you use to help you to sell online. But actually, it's so different when you get to chat to them in person, and they even suggest things like, oh, actually, I love 5 buttons on a waistcoat, or I love having working cuffs on blazers, which I do on all mine, and things like that. It makes such a difference, like sort of for the research side of the business as well.
Sure, yeah. And for the pop-ups, whereabouts do you locate them? Close to where you live, or is it all over?
No, all over again. Like, I'm definitely predominantly based with London with my main pop-up. I've one in Islington, which I've been doing sort of March and April. We were there. We were there meant to be there for 2 weeks, and we ended up doing 7.5 weeks. It was such a success. We ended up going back in for June, July, and then we launched again last week for another couple of weeks. Hopefully we'll extend, but I think it will just be for 2 weeks this time. So that's been incredible. And then I've had them up in Lincolnshire. I've had them over in Gloucestershire. Where else have I been? I've been down south. I've got Henley on Thames later this month. So all about. I try to get around as much as possible. I haven't got quite as far north as I'd like to, but I think that's sort of on the goals on the list to do.
And is the customers that go into the pop-ups, do you think they're the same customers that shop online, or do you get a lot of just footfall people popping in?
Yeah, I think a mix. I think we get a lot of footfall, especially in Islington, a lot of footfall that just pop in. I think my social media is pretty strong, so people see it on there and they will pop in. But I think we do rely a lot on footfall coming in. I think that makes quite a difference. And then that's kind of what you want, because you want the new customers as well. And you don't necessarily, I think, especially for some of the older generations, I've sort of ranged from 30s all the way up to 60s, 70s, and it's quite a lot of the 60s, 70s say they're not on social media at all, and they wouldn't have found me if I hadn't been with the pop-up. So it's nice to have that side of it as well. So I think we rely on retaining customers, but also finding new customers with pop-ups.
Mhm. And what does your current setup look like in terms of, is it all managed by you? Do you have staff?
Yeah, so it's it's literally I wear so many hats. So it's just myself, but then I freelance out. So I sort of have the web technician, brand consultant. I have a content strategy lady who's really helpful, and then I have an amazing photographer who always helps me with shoots. And then so I find, rather than having people on the books, which just doesn't really work for a business my size, I freelance out PR, PR as well. That I found that brilliant. And then also, I was taught, I had an amazing mentor as well, who's brilliant, and he said to me, it's not just. It's, you get to a point where you've got to make yourself redundant. So although you wear all the hats, eventually you've got to make yourself redundant, and you find people who do the job either as good as or better than you, preferably better. And especially your weaknesses, get people to come in and work on something that you're not good at. And he said, get the wrong people off your bus and get the right people on your bus. So eventually you have a really good team behind you that will push the business forward. So it's really good bit
How
of
do you go
advice.
about on finding mentors?
Um, that was the mentor I had. I've actually applied for, so found a company. I'm part of a group, a female-founded community called By Women Built, which I highly recommend. It's been absolutely incredible. And I joined that about 18 months ago, and I saw through that a company, it was actually a lingerie underwear company, and the co-founder and her right-hand man have a foundation that you apply for, and I got onto that, and they've been really helpful, and I've done it through them. But there's loads of different ways. Recommendations. LinkedIn is a really good one. I've know a lot of people find mentors through that. Through these groups, again, a lot of people have found mentors through that as well. And then I always think, if you've got people that you've known for years, especially people who've got a similar business to you, but they're a step ahead of you, they're really good people to sort of lean on, because they've been where you've been and they know what you're going through. So, and they've already come out the other side of it. So I always think, I've always been advised, like, find somebody like that who can really help you.
Brilliant. And how often would you meet with your mentor?
Um, you in person once or twice a year, and then online as you need it, want it, or also say quarterly. Quarterly probably is best, because you'll run through everything. You'll sort of run through what's going on in the past, you run through what's coming up ahead, and then you'll put in place your goals. And then so you need that time to implement it. And everything takes 3 to 4 months pretty much to implement. So even your PR, everything, once you kickstart it, you're not really going to see a result for 3 to 4 months. So it quarterly works really well.
What has been your favourite moment since running Anna James?
I thought about this and I was like, I don't have a particular moment. I think for me, it's the journey. So it's from designing the blazers, the suits, finding the fabric, putting it into production, having the samples, putting it in production, shooting it. I absolutely love photo shoots. So I could spend all day looking at textile books. I absolutely love the designing part. And then the photo shoots are great fun. I absolutely love doing a photo shoot, just the whole buzz about it, seeing it come to life. And then seeing the customer wearing the piece. So it's the whole journey from start to finish, just everything falling into place and coming together. It's never a smooth ride. Having your own business is such a roller coaster. So I think getting from that starting point and then seeing it all come to life at the end point is just, it's such a kick. It's the buzz. That's what I love doing with it all.
Before we start recording, you mentioned you did a shoot yesterday. Do you are you the creative director of the shoots, or do you have someone else that kind of leads it?
Yeah. No, I do all the creative directing and the styling as well. So I work with a really small team. Again, like with being a really small business, I just have a really small budget. So I would do the creative directing, I do the styling, and then I have my photographer, and then I have a model who's amazing, and then I usually have a makeup artist and hairstylist as well. So we're a very small team of usually 4 or 5. Sometimes I have an assistant with me if it's a bigger team. Sometimes we do half a day. Sometimes we'll do a full day. It just depends how many new pieces we've got coming out. And yeah, so I love the styling side of it. That's for me, that's the fun part. I love it. So I've not actually got someone on board yet. I think as the business grows, I'd love to have somebody on board to help me with the styling, but the creative direction I'll probably always do myself.
Yeah, especially if you enjoy it as well.
Yeah, you don't want to take away what you love, because otherwise you end up doing all the painful bits like your bookkeeping. So it's a lot more fun if you get to do the styling and the creative direction of it all as well.
And then on the other side, what has been the most difficult part of running a business, or the toughest day?
Yeah, cash flow. Cash flow is key. I think from the beginning, you've got to have a strong business plan and you've got to have a good cash flow to go with it. Because if you get yourself, the first 2 or 3 years are going to be your toughest, and you've got to have planning, even whether it's a sort of a second income to help you so you don't have to take an income out of the business to start with. I would advise that for the first couple of years anyway, because it just makes it a lot easier. And then just cash flow, because especially with a product-based business, for me, I design my pieces, they go into production, and then they arrive, and you'll pay usually on arrival. Some will ask for pro formas, some fact, like, with my textiles can be for pro forma if I've not worked with them before. So having that balance of cash flow your products, the cash going out. I work with pre-order, which helps. So there's things that you can put into place, and like retaining customers. They know your quality, they know your pieces, and they like the idea of pre-order. So that works and that helps with cash flow. But I think that's definitely my toughest challenge, and it's ongoing. I mean, even massive big brands, even for them, cash flow is an ongoing problem.
Exactly. And
It
even the
never
bigger
changes.
brands, sometimes they're able to take a loss for a lot longer than it's harder
Yeah,
for them. So it's easier for them because they're able to take a loss for such a longer time compared to small businesses.
yeah,
And especially with fashion, you're constantly reinvesting profits back into the business for the
definitely.
next launch.
Yeah, and then you'll get curveball thrown at you as well. So, like for me, I might send over a roll of fabric and to my manufacturer, and then they'll be like, "Oh, it's blemished or something like that." So then you've got to go back, start again, and things like that. Something you weren't expecting sort of comes into play as well. So you've got to be on the ball and know what backup you've got if you need it, and just know what cash flow. It's up here a lot. It's on paper, but it's also up here.
Yeah, sure. And is your manufacturers based in the UK or are they overseas?
No, I actually use a manufacturer in Europe. I've tried to bring it back to the UK. I really like the idea of having it in the UK, and I really admire businesses that are based in the UK with their manufacturing. But for me, I've worked with my guy for 15 years now, so way before I had my own business. I've got the most amazing relationship with him and his team, and they also do Savile Row made to measure, so the quality is just second to none. And to keep the quality that I really want for my pieces, and the timeline and everything like that, the relationship, it works for me. So I've been with them for a long time, and it will stay like that for now. They're brilliant. I'm very lucky to have them.
Interesting. And how important is seasonality for your business? I know with a lot of e-commerce businesses, they really rely on Q4, that kind of push
Yeah.
into Black Friday, kind of Christmas. Is that the same with your business or is it quite consistent all year round?
Yeah, I like the idea of, so I tried to design with medium weight fabric so that my everyday blazers and my everyday suits you can wear all year round, and then the blazers you can wear as separates during the summer over a dress. So that's quite important to me. But I do have my linen collection which comes out in April time, and that is obviously very seasonal, and that goes into sale in August, and it pretty much clears out by the end of sort of September. Um, and then I have a very small evening collection that will launch in mid-October and will run through November, December before sales kick in January. So although I like the idea of not being seasonal, it's very hard with the fabrics that I use. Velvets are not going to work in summer, linen's not going to work in winter. So you do find that I am going to be seasonal. And yeah, Q4 is the biggest one for me. I've gone into silly season. So like September, October, November are crazy. And then it actually eases up in December because most people have got their outfits for whether it's their Christmas party or going out with friends, and I find that it eases up by mid-December. So yeah, September, October, November, the crazy months, and December eases up before we hit sales in January.
And because you're a premium brand, I can imagine sale periods aren't as a big of a thing for you.
No, I try to um I try to stick, or I do stick to just January winter sales and August summer sales. I don't do Black Friday. It's not viable with us as a small business. You can't compete with the big brands, and I keep my prices down as low as possible as it is. With the quality of the fabric I use 100% wool, linen, 100% cord, with the cotton with the cord, and the same with the cotton with the velvet. So if I'm slashing prices all the time, it just doesn't work. And then also your customer database they'll hold out because they just expect you to slash price all the time. It just doesn't work. It's not viable. So I literally stick to the sales twice a year. And that works really well for the brand. And I think people then know that you're not going to always be doing discounts, twice a month or something like that. So people work out what works for them, but I think for premium brand, it doesn't work to just keep doing. Do archive sales. Archive sales are brilliant because you want to clear out stock. It generates extra cash flow. It's not your current stock, so it doesn't affect your current stock. So that's a very clever way of doing sales without having to be seasonal sales if you want
And
to.
archive sales, is that previous stock, previous season's stock
Yeah.
that's remaining sizes that are left in?
Yeah, exactly. It's just samples. So leftover samples that you have that aren't quite right, or don't quite fit into your full collection. Leftover stock. You always find that when you get down to like one or two, a handful of pieces, they don't sell as well because there's only a few left. They sell well at pop-ups, but online not as well. Whereas if you stick an archive sale online with those, they'll clear out pretty quickly.
Because I think the sale periods, they could be great for these short-term boosts in cash, but you do risk offending loyal customers that have bought it at full price the week
Yeah,
before, and then they see that item go
yeah,
on discount.
they can be quite damaging. So you've got to be very strategic about it. Yeah, definitely.
I've got a few clients in the fashion industry, and I always admire like how far forward you have to be looking because you've launched your summer collection, but then you've already planned your winter collection for
Yeah.
the next year. Has that been a challenge for you, or how do you make sure that you stay within trends and make sure that when you do launch your next collection that it's going to be popular?
I find it really weird because even now I'm already thinking about spring summer 26, and I already know the colours I'm going to be using. Um there's a report that goes out that gives you heads up on colours. So that really helps. I mean, I try not to follow trends, but it's nice to know, if there's a color that really stands out and think, actually, I'd really like to do that. I think that would work really well for my customers. Like yellow this year, I'd already had butter yellow on my radar for about 18 months ago. And then it came out this time last year and I was like, yes, nailed it. So I brought out yellow this summer and it absolutely flew. So that was brilliant. And then um, it's weird because you go into the summer. So the summer we've just gone, I'm already planning autumn winter 25, even though we were having 26-degree heat, and I'm organising a winter shoot with knits, and that's quite weird to get your head around. But I mean, everyone's different. As a small business, I only have a lead time of 8 weeks for my bulk orders. It's all limited edition, so I don't order a huge amount, but it's a late week lead. So I don't have to, I sort of finalize my designs about 6 months in advance. Some people will be a year in advance, but I can get away with about 6 months, which is good because it means I can keep up with trends if I want to, and I can change things. So I don't have to. I'm not restricted. It's not stuck in stone too early on, which is actually really gives freedom to design, which is really nice.
Hmm. And has there ever been like a color or a type of clothing that you thought would fly off the shelves a year before, and then when it came to launch, or 6 weeks before, when it came to launch, and just didn't do as well?
Um, yeah, the gold blazer. I've got a gold core blazer, and I knew it was a bit of a risk. And I would say it's gone. I've got one left, and it's trickled out. But I think the tone should have been slightly darker on it. I think I got it a little too strong, and I think if I'd done slightly dark, it's so difficult because if you do, I think if something slightly darker would have actually worked quite well. But saying that, I've got one left and it's trickled out, so yeah, it's not been too bad. It's more the other way I've had it is I had a wild card. So they always, I was taught sort of do a wild card that isn't necessarily going to be your bestseller, but it's going to catch the attention of your customers, of the media. It will stand out on your social media. So each season, I always have my wild card. And a couple of seasons ago, when I first launched, I did a red wool blazer, and I thought, oh. It's bright. It's beautiful. It's a twill wool made in Yorkshire. It's absolutely stunning. And I thought, oh, wild card will be interesting to see what this does. And I've sold out. I've restocked 3 times, and it's been brilliant. So it's funny what catches you off guard. What you think's going to sell sometimes doesn't, and what does sell, or what doesn't sell does sell. So yeah, it's a funny one. It's hard to keep up sometimes.
Yeah, and being a small business, you're able to restock pretty quickly compared to bigger businesses that have longer lead times.
Yeah, I wish I could do a bit more than the 8 weeks when I want to restock. I think restocking, especially when it's out and customers are waiting for it to come back in, and you've only got a month or two of the season left. The 8 weeks isn't great for me. Um, But it's just, yeah, I mean, it might be something that I'll be able to work on in the future, but at the moment, for bulk, it's brilliant. I would say restocker, I'd like to speed that up if I could. Definitely.
Brilliant. I think the wildcard idea is just a really good piece of advice. It's quite common, especially within advertising. There's lots of brands that are pushed quite heavily on loss leaders because it gets really
Yes.
cheap clicks to their website. And then when people are there, they'll buy other items.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I was given that advice a couple of years ago, and it's definitely, I think it works across all businesses. Yeah, it's a really good a tip.
And that's actually led us quite nicely into marketing. Um,
Yeah.
how does Anna James acquire customers? Is social media advertising probably your top channel, or is it word of mouth or pop-ups?
I found Instagram to be my strongest channel. So Facebook's great. My old brand, Facebook, was absolutely brilliant. But I think because this is a slightly younger audience, Instagram has done really, really well for me. I've dabbled with TikTok. I need to get better with my TikTok. I have tried print advertising. I'm too small a fish. I think the big fish, you could take a whole page advert, you stand out, people recognize you. There's no point of doing a one-off big advert. Like, you've got to be consistent. If you're going to do print advertising, you're probably going to want to do it for like 6 months, even a year, and you're going to want to have a full page. And again, my budget, small brand, it's not doable. So for me, I don't do print advertising. Never say never, but not for now. It doesn't work. I do a lot of organic on social media, and then a lot of meta paid ads as well, and that's been really fruitful. Pop-ups, I was saying earlier on, I'm upping my pop-ups because they've done so well. And just word of mouth, you literally, the old school word of mouth is brilliant. And I've had a lot of people who've said, oh, somebody's got a blazer, and I would love, I love it. I'd love to have one. The other thing that I've done is working with stylists. Work with a lot of stylists, and I find it helps less with sales, but the credibility and the loyalty that you get through that. So if you've got a very well-known TV presenter, I work with a lot of TV presenters. um, that helps a lot because people know them. They feel like, well, if they're wearing your pieces, then the credibility is right there, and that's brilliant.
That was actually going to be one of my questions, because
Yeah,
I noticed
sorry.
there's been a few. No, 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 no worries at all.
Ahead.
But how? So to get for the TV presenters to wear your items, you go through the stylists who style them for the show, obviously,
Yeah.
and then
So
they keep the items after, do they?
No, a lot of it's loans. Sometimes they purchase, which is, I mean, that's what you always want, isn't it? So sometimes they'll purchase, the stylist will have a budget and they'll purchase from you. A lot of them are happy to loan because they are just having, their wardrobe turns over so quickly that actually they don't want pieces sitting in their wardrobe the whole time. So they're very happy to loan. So yeah, majority of it is loaning. The odd time I might gift, depending if they've been, I find that if I've worked with them a lot and they've been brilliant, and they've got lots coming up, I'll gift them something. But the loaning is the main route. And I do a press day usually once or twice a year, and I have a press day in April, May time. This is one of my other favorite things about having my own brand, just meeting the influencers and the stylists. And then I do another one in September time. And I basically get a group of stylists, influencers, people who have been really sort of loyal to the brand and really help me boost the brand and spread the word. And I will do like a breakfast launch, and they'll come see the pieces. And it's a really good way to spread the word on their social media, my social media, and just get more of an outreach that I wouldn't necessarily have otherwise. But the stylists come to that, and it's really nice. It's a really lovely way of meeting them and building. It's all about building relationships. You build a really good relationship with your manufacturer, build a really, really good relationship with your stylists, the influencers, all your team around you, your freelancers, and it makes such difference.
And when someone wears it on TV, are you able to use pictures of them on TV and in other marketing channels? Are you able to push that on social media advertising, for example?
Yeah, it's a bit of a grey area. You've got to be careful because there are restrictions, like especially if you get the Princess of Wales wearing a blazer, which would be a dream come true. The photographer's taken that, he owns the copyright to that, so you've got to be very careful. And I've known brands that have been caught out. So stylists, they will tend to take photos for you, and they'll
Behind the
send them over to
scenes
me.
before it goes on.
Yeah, before they go live. So they're brilliant. And that's another reason I'm having a great relationship for them, because they know that you want it for your social media. And then the presenters are brilliant because they will put something, their followers will want to see what they're wearing, and you can just reshare. So that works. I'm finding that stylists and presenters are brilliant like that. They're my
It's
best
so good
route.
for building trust as well, because
Yeah.
especially your industry's quite competitive, and just having actual big personalities and TV appearances of people wearing your clothing really helps you stand out.
And being out and about as well, because they're always in different situations. So, I mean, I had Alex Jones, and she's in the studio a lot with the One Show. And then, I've got Francesca Cumani, who's a horse racing presenter for ITV Racing. And again, she's out and about on location all the time. So it just shows that my pieces are really versatile. They'll work across all scenarios. So whether, a lot of the times they'll wear them to press events. And they'll wear them out in the evening as well. So they're just versatile. I design for my pieces to go from one occasion to another, so they help to sort of prove and make that point with my designing as well. So that works brilliantly.
And how have you managed to build your social following on Instagram? I think you've got around 13,000, if I'm right.
Yeah. Yeah, about 13,000. It takes time. I think a lot of it I've done organically. I mentioned Meta ads earlier on, influencers with the gifting and the loaning. UGC, brilliant, because quite often you'll loan them a piece, and you will pay them to do sort of how to style this 3 ways, and they'll put that onto their social media. So that reach that you wouldn't normally be able to tap into of new customers is brilliant. That really helps. Yeah, it works pretty well.
With influencers, I've had brands that have had kind of mixed experiences with influencer marketing. Have you seen quite strong return on investments?
Yeah, I've found that you have to be really, really careful, because sometimes especially if you gift, you'll quite often see it once and you'll never see it again. Um, Other times they will wear it in, put it into their wardrobe, and you'll see it again and again. So I find it really hit and miss. I've actually taken a step back from influencers. Um, I still do it, but I won't. But I've probably halved what I was doing. And I think again, it's building a relationship. Just because someone messages you and they've got a big following, um, doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get a lot from it. Um, I found that actually the small micro influencers are so much better to work with. So if you're looking at somebody who's got between 10 and 50,000, sometimes that's going to be a lot stronger for you, and they have a much more loyal following than somebody who's got sort of 200,000 plus. So that's something that I think is really important. Work with the smaller influencers. You're probably going to get more return on it.
And the influencers that also align with your brand messaging as well. You
Yeah.
see a lot of people just jump for the influencer with the biggest following. And I've worked with brands, and I won't name the influencer, but they've over 1 million followers, and they did a promotion and looking at traffic, a handful of
Yeah.
clicks actually came through and none of them purchased. But if
Yeah.
you were to go off followers, you'd think that's great that this influencer has posted about your brand.
Yeah, I mean, if they're into sort of their beauty tutorials, or they're into their interiors and they're sort of renovating their house, then yes, they might do the odd styling outfit when they're showing their house to their followers, but it's not the same. You've got to find somebody who's all about the styling. They may be keeping up with the trends as well. Yeah, so I think that's very important. Don't just go for their reach. Find people who've got the strong engagement. Not necessarily the likes. Instagram's awful for likes at the moment, but just look at the views. That's what will give it away.
The luxury kind of fashion space is quite competitive. What does Anna James do to kind of stand out from the crowd?
Yeah, it is very I find this with all industries, though. I think you can say it for all industries. And I think with whatever industry you're in, you've just got to find your niche. You're not necessarily reinventing the wheel. I'm not reinventing the wheel with blazers or suits. I mean, they're, hundreds and hundreds of years old, but, the way I'm going about it with my, photo shoots and what the fabrics I use. So I'm sort of using cords. I'm using velvets, which are lot more sort of on trend at the moment. They're timeless. It's very important they're timeless, but they're also, out and about a lot more now. So the quality is key, I think, which is what I was saying about the pop-ups. People see my quality and it's going to be above any high street brand. There's no blends in there. There's no polyester, anything like that. And that makes a huge difference. I'm also all about empowering. So I love the idea of you put on a blazer, you put on a suit, and you literally feel like you can take on the world. Whatever the day's going to throw at you, you feel confident and empowered. And inside my blazers are quotes, embroidered, colourful quotes, that will say things like "Believe in yourself," "Make it happen," "Now or never," and there's just something a little bit different that you don't see in any other brand. And that's I've had such good feedback from that. But I've actually done 100% cotton t-shirts that have got the logo on the left chest as well, and that's been really well received. So it's again just completely different to anything else that's out there.
And you've seen a lot of with brands now, they're really pushing kind of founder-led content, like following the founder's story. Are you doing a lot of that in your own content as well?
Yeah, it's actually really interesting you asked me that because I have been with my brand consultant and my strategy lady, they have been, and actually a few other people, and they've been saying, you've got to show your face more. You know, we want to hear more about your story, we want to hear more about you. And it's really hard as a brand owner to be, I sort of always wanted to be behind my brand and not necessarily be the forefront of my brand, not be the face of my brand. But actually, some of the best brands out there, the small brands, have done so well because the owner is the face of their brand, and you've got that advantage. So somewhere like M&S or High Street, big Reese, big high street brands, they don't have a face because it's so big. Whereas you've got that USP, you are unique. There's no one else who can do what you can do. So that is something I'm working on. And actually, I've set up my studio. I've got a corner where I can stand and I can do content. I'm going to do a lot more of my own content. I did an unboxing reveal the other day of my new pink cord trousers, crop trousers, which I'm really excited about. And I've done a reveal on those. So I think it's really important to have your storytelling. Like my textile background's again very unusual. So I try to focus on that. And you think that you're boring and you think that, are you like, in the mornings I'm wearing leggings and I'm going on a school run and I drop my kids off. But actually, and then I go to the studio and I have a full day in the studio and I'll pick them up and I think, oh, that's not very interesting. But actually, majority of people don't have their own business and they have no idea what goes on behind the scenes. So I think actually it is really interesting. And you've just got to put yourself out there and go for it. So yeah, that's something I'm working on. Watch this space.
Brilliant. And from a marketing perspective, you've been a business owner for just over 10 years now. Is it harder now to stand out than it was 10 years ago?
I don't think it's harder to stand out. I think because I'm a small business, it's always going to be hard. You've got
Mhm.
the small budget. If you can throw a lot of money at something, you're going to be able to go down a lot more avenues with getting your reach out there. I think I think the thing to focus on when you're a small business is work out what's going to work for you and focus on pick three things. So for me, I stick to newsletter, really good. Everyone's got to have a really good newsletter. Social media channels with my Instagram and my pop-ups. So they're my three big things that I'm sticking to. And there's loads more channels that you can try. And every now and then I test a new channel and to see what's going to work. And I think to stand out, you've just got to push your story, push your USPs, and stick to a small, narrow channel of reach rather than don't go too wide. Don't spread yourself too thin because it won't work.
Do you have quite a strong return customer base, or is most of your sales come from first time purchases?
I've got quite a strong return customer. I've got I think because I've been going 10 years and even with my old brand from when I was doing made to measure, although it's men's and ladies, a lot of the ladies have followed me through to Anna James, which has been amazing. It's always easier to retain a customer. It's also cheaper to retain a customer. So to me, they're really important. And I've, building those relationships and they come and see me in the pop-ups and it's so nice to actually meet them in person. And I think, I think that over the 10 years has definitely made a difference. I've I think because Anna James is so young and it is only 2 years old, I've got a lot of new customers coming on board still. And I've got, there's such a huge audience out there that I'm tapping into it the whole time. So although I'm got a good retain on my customer base, new customers is also really important. But you've got to keep your retaining customer because they are the base of what you're doing. You need them to keep your cash flow going as such. So yeah, so a bit of both, but I would say my retaining is still really strong.
Do you have any advice for someone trying to launch a fashion brand today?
Yeah, I think go for it. I think you've got to have a strong business plan and your cash flow. Get the right people on board on your bus. Get the right people on bus. Get the right people on board behind you. Know your weaknesses. Like it's really difficult, but you'll wear many hats when you first start, and you'll only be able to you're only going to be good at certain things, and you've got to know your weakness. Marketing's my weakness, and I've always known that, which is why I sort of got a PR brand on board as soon as I could afford it. So I think know your weaknesses and embrace that and get the people on board to help you with that. But I think more than anything, you've just got to go for it. Do a lot of research. I think if you know you've got a good product, you know you can tap into a database, and you know where to if you're going to get them in Instagram, you're going to get them to face. And then, yeah, the business plan and the cash flow is key behind the scenes. And I think at the end of the day, you can procrastinate for as much as you want to, and you can put everything into place. But actually, sometimes you've just got to go for it. It's never going to be perfect. And I've been doing this for 10 years now. And even now, I'm still tweaking things and I'm still learning along the way. And you're never going to start 100% how you want it to be. And I look back at my photo shoots from 10 years ago and I think, oh my goodness, it's so much better now. But then I've learned so much over 10 years. I've got so much more experience behind me now than I had 10 years ago. So something as simple as that, like, you're going to improve the whole time. But yeah, take the leap. If you don't take the leap, you're never going to know. So go for it.
Brilliant. And I always finish the podcast on legacy. So I'd be interested to know, what does the future hold for Anna James?
So the next few years, I really want to focus on building my products. So I've got things like coats. I've got coats that I've already designed. I'd love to bring those out, hopefully next autumn, winter. So building on product. I'd really like to get either a permanent shop somewhere, or do sort of like more of a permanent kind of pop-up, something sort of more in person. I would love to build on my customer database. So things like my newsletter, so more behind the scenes, I'd love to build on my newsletter. And then there's certain people that I'd love to work with over the next few years, that as the business builds, hopefully I'll be able to work towards that as well. So I think doing what I do now, but just building on it and just growing the business in general. I'd love to, I was saying earlier on that it's very UK based. And I'd love to build on that international customer base as well. So focus more on like America, Australia, and Europe. So that's really important for me as well. So there's lots of things in the pipeline, but it just takes time. It's only 2 years old. It's really early days. So yeah, we've got a lot going on.
Brilliant. Well, Anna, thanks a lot for coming on this podcast. You've been brilliant.
Thank you so much. It's been lovely. I've really enjoyed it.